At the beginning of this series with the warning alarm, suddenly in the ship, internal pressure loss has been detected in the landing module, causing them to suffocate, after the oxygen level starts to fall. Dr. Jian Song is unconscious and is upside down due to lack of oxygen, and soon awakens, but is still fastened to her sit. They are only 7.6 kilometers away from the northwest of Balhe Station. However, all the engines go down, only increasing their problem. The whole system crashes, and still, they haven't figured out the causes. Dr. Song unfastens her belt and informs the captain that there is water leakage that soon needed to be fixed for their survival. As the camera zoom out, they are middle of nowhere. The ship is dangerously perched on the ledge of a vast canyon. Then series cut us back to the past. Earth is approaching a tipping point. The average rainfall hits another low, leading the major rivers around the globe to be dried up. The sea level is falling, and according to the prediction of the World Water Resources Council, the world water will be reduced by 40% in the following 10 years. As an outburst, the infant mortality rates reached an all-time high, followed by the global food shortage. Even the people have to wait in queue for water. Government imposes a regulation limiting certain liters of water to an individual. This enrages people and thus protests against the policy. Mr. Kim meets with Dr. Jian Song, who is an ethologist and also an expert on astrobiology. He offers her to work on the project. However, she rejects his offer and claims she has no intention to work again there. He then informs her that Director Choi wants her, especially in this mission. She asks him about the mission, where Mr. Kim informs her that she needs to accept the offer to know more about the mission. Before departing, Mr. Kim reveals the mission to be about Balhe Station, which captivates her intrigue. Balhe Station is a lunar station built by the Republic of Korea. However, 5 years back, it suffered a devastating catastrophe that killed 117 crew members. Dr. Jian Song meets with Han Yunjae, the captain of the mission. The other crew members are Tae-suk, Su-chan, and Kim Sun. Ein Ji-young is a co-pilot. She has been replaced at the last minute in place of a cocky young man named Jisoo. Shortly, the whole crew is brief about the mission. They need to acquire an essential sample in a capsule, and return it to Earth to help in the ongoing research. In the briefing, Mr. Kim also informs them that, if they manage to keep the capsule in the good condition, the retrieval will be flawless. However, if they find a small defect, then they need to proceed with extra caution. Mr. Kim doesn't inform the substance inside the capsule, and thus, Jian Song asks about the substance inside the capsule. Before Mr. Kim could answer her question, Director Kim intervenes and tells Mr. Kim to continue the briefing. This arouses suspicion about the mission. With incredible expertise in astrobiology, she is in charge of sample collection while Captain Han is the charge of the expedition itself. Before departing on the mission, Director Choi gifts Jian Song a golden card, providing access to unlimited water. Once the whole crew completes the mission, they will be promoted to a higher grade with access to unlimited water. All the crew are geared up and are ready for their expedition. After the launch, they successfully go towards the orbit of the moon. But suddenly, the moon gravitational force starts to pull the ship. The ship is in verse of huge accidents. So to avoid it, Captain ordered to release of the landing module. After they release, the ship is uncontrollably pulled by moon's force. Though the pilots try their best to ignite the thrust doesn't ignite. The ship crashes, and skids across the surface of the moon. The ship starts to tip. The whole crew manages to free themselves, and the crew begins to walk to the door. But when they try to open the door, as the ship is on the cliff, it starts to slide into the vast gulf below. One of the boxes falls on the glass and breaks glass, resulting huge suction of gravitational pull. Dr. Song is pulled by the force and is on the verge of disappearing into space. Luckily she manages to hold on strips, and Captain Han grabs her hand before she falls. Soon, the whole crew is on the surface of the moon. They are out of touch and cannot communicate with SAA, and Balhe Station is just 7.6 kilometers away. As they talk, their spaceship falls into a deep gulf. Captain Han is still optimistic that the rescue ship will come there to rescue them. To improve the chance of survival, Captain Han orders them to move on until they reach Balhe Station. In this devastating and dangerous journey, Mr. Huang struggles to breathe. His health starts to deteriorate, his pressure continues to fall. They need to get him into the station. Bone shards have penetrated his lungs from his earlier injury, and he is dehydrated and desperately asks for water. When Captain Han tries to fill his water bottle, Huang stops him. He coughs up blood and requests them to save it for them. He collapses and dies right in front of them. Captain Han leaves the water bottle with the dead Huang, and orders the crew to move toward the station, promising to take back the dead body when they return to the Earth. They reach the station. However, the crew member is running out of oxygen. The oxygen level is only 1%. The crew members are suffering but still are marching to get inside the station. Right in time, they manage to get inside the station, and shut the airlock barely in time. At the start of Part 2, the series cuts us back to a flashback of Dr. Jian Song. She is at her lab, attempting to decrypt the files. Jian recalls how her memory with her sister, Song Wonkyung, and how she used to refer to the dark patch on the moon as the Silent Sea. After quick recalls of her memory, she decodes the file and becomes able to read the message. The message says, "Find Luna." Well, Luna is a code word that the team needs to secure it. Mr. Kim Huang is also aware of it. They must safeguard the data stored in Balhe's data storage system. At present, inside the Balhe station, all the team successfully manages to control their oxygen level and bring the situation under their control. After air-locking the air pressure and gravity level, the system automatically shut down. They need to restart the system again, and to do so, they proceed forward to complete their mission. They move through the hallway and came across the dead body of a man holding a gun in his hand. The dead man seems to be on a mission, probably working for the Russian or Chinese mafia to collect some important resources from space. The team wonders about the cause of his death. Dr. Hong believes that all the foam around his mouth and nose signaled that he died due to drowning. But how exactly? Dr. Jian suggests the team to perform an autopsy to find the actual reason for causing the death of this man. However, she is overruled by the group, and the group moves forward hoping to find the source to restart the system. As they move, they see several gas cylinders, and this is not the source of the power supply. They continue to search and move. Finally, the group managed to reach the main hub and successfully start the power supply. The whole station is lit up, as they try to communicate but couldn't. The communication system is still down. The captain is optimistic, believing that once the power system is on, the rescue team will see it and comes to rescue, but it might take some time for the ship to arrive, so for now they need to focus on their mission. One of the members informs them that the station's life support system is okay, and the oxygen level is fine with minimum radiation. Dr. Jian removes her helmet and demands to investigate the facility for the cause of the accident in order to avoid the failure of the mission. But Captain denies her request and suggests her to focus on the mission and not to get derailed. After activating the air filtering system, the whole crew can move easily. The crew discusses a plan to safely retrieve the capsule. With the help of 3D schematics, they figure out the shortest way to locate the capsule. On the top, they need to safely bring the capsule without contamination by passing 8 gates. The plan is to go through the main gate, the safest one. To locate it quickly, Captain Han divides the crew into 3 teams. Shortly, the crew begins to look out for capsule. While searching, one team finds a weird sign drawn by a human on the ceiling. Though they are frightened but keep moving, they pass through several hallways. Captain Han and his team reach a door that doesn't open, and there is no error in the system. The door must be working fine. They try to force open the door but couldn't. After several attempts, when the door opens, they see the pile of dead bodies. These bodies were blocking the door to open, and they are the dead crew members' bodies. This makes clear that all the death are not from radiation. From the radio, again Dr. Jian insists to the captain, telling him to identify the bodies, and gets a medical report to find out what actually happened here. Like before, he again rejects her by warning her that they shouldn't risk their mission for her personal curiosity. The series show cut us to a flashback where Dr. Jian is talking with Director Choi. Director Choi is sorry for her sister's loss. Was she on board the Balhe station during the Korean First Moon Expedition? The 3 group steps inside different storage rooms. Inside storage 2, when they look around, they find all the slots empty and slots are lit up with red light. Someone has emptied the slot. The same thing goes up with the captain team. Now it's up to Jian and her team to find the sample. A short time later, in a scanner, they see unusual biosignature around. That is clearly unsettling, and it's enough to convince Jisoo that they need to find out what actually happened inside the station. He then asks Jian to go to the main infirmary to find out the reason, promising to cover her up with the captain. She then rushes towards the main infirmary. Meanwhile, Suchan leans over from dead body to reach for another sample bottle, which is empty too. While grabbing the bottles, he pushes the body. Mysterious particles rise from the dead body and get inside through his eyes. The virus is now inside his body and slowly starts to work through his body. As the team is walking in the hallway, we see Suchan sweating strangely, and in shock. The odd water droplet runs down from his ear. Moving on, Jian Song is running to find the dead body to examine it. And in the meantime, she receives the radio transmission informing her that Jisoo is not answering, and believes that something is wrong. Soo Hyuk asks her not to act on her own. After the warning, she rushes back and searches for Jisoo. When she finds him, he is trying to open the door of the storage room. But suddenly some strange forces pull him inside the room, drag him to the ceiling, and ultimately kill him. Obviously, the crew is not alone. There is someone else who has been constantly watching the crew. Jian sees some strange creature in the shadows. Meanwhile, Soo-hyuk comes there and finds Jian in shock. Captain Han also arrives there. After finding the camera on the floor, they pack the body of Jisoo. Captain Han suspects Jian and asks her to hand over her body camera to check out what's going on. Captain Han and the team check out the footage from Jian's body camera. They find that something drags Jisoo strung up to death. Very soon, Suchan begins to show symptoms like Jisoo. As the virus starts to attack, he vomits water from his mouth like the water tap. The crew could not figure out what is going on inside this space station. The crew begins treatment with the available medicine, and becomes successful to stop the water. Despite the crew's best efforts to save him but is no good, and he quickly sprays water in the air like a fountain and dies just like others, he is drowned to death. After a series of death, Captain Han becomes ready to do an autopsy. Jian decides to find the hidden files and data that are stashed someplace in the station. With Captain Han's permission, they are on the journey to find out what killed Suchan and the others before the situation becomes out of control. One team is performing the autopsy to find out the cause of death and also sneaking into data storage to find out any suspicious medical reports. It appears that they will have to perform in an old-fashioned manner, which includes collecting tissue sample from deceased corpses to identify the starting phase of infection. While Captain Han is on a mission to catch the shadow creature and his team is searching for it, Captain Han wants this mission to be successful at any cost. Shortly, one of the crew, when he looks at the scanner, notices something approaching fast, and quickly passes from them to another area in the station. Jian is back after examining the corpse and confirms that all other bodies' death causes are similar. This adds to Dr. Hong's autopsy. Dr. Hong explained that there is a sign of water in the organs, that fills up automatically inside the body and drowns them ultimately. When Jian looks at the blood sample in the microscope and finds that there are no viruses or bacteria making that much water inside the body, Jian talks with Captain Han and informs him that the creature she encounters might be the creature on the moon who doesn't like an intruder, and also suggests he make critical distance from that creature. She is not sure but suggests that the creature might be the surviving crew member. Captain Han doubts it. She further adds that if any of the crew had rationed their food and water, they might have survived. Captain Han is still determined to complete the mission, and to do so, along with the same crew, he steps out of the station to fix the communication tower. This part begins in the flashback of Captain Han. He is walking where people are demonstrating for free and equal water. Han passes by the water distribution center and goes to the hospital to meet his sick daughter. His daughter is in a critical stage and might never walk again. This also reflects his calm character and his possessed nature, and also resembles that he is doing this mission for his daughter. At present at Balhi Station, after testing the water, both Jian and Dr. Hong are astounded to see the water in distilled condition. Still, its mass and density are different from regular water. In the meantime, Captain Han becomes ready to go into the pit from an elevator shaft. The elevator was not functioning before but suddenly starts to move. Just in time, Captain Han manages to dodge the raging elevator and collides with the station. The power is still on. This breakdown is a warning sign. Indeed, Han is quickly knocked down and hanging upside down in the elevator shaft. Worse, his oxygen system has been destroyed as a result of being pinballed against the sidewalls like a ragdoll. Tae-suk is frequently communicating with Captain Han over the radio, and successfully guides him on what to do with the system, to maneuver it to get out of this situation. Thankfully, Captain Han manages to get back in time before the oxygen runs out. Inside the lab, Jian is pretty sure that water is the outcome of the type of extraterrestrial virus, which had killed all the crew members 5 years ago. They also find that this virus is not airborne, they need to have contact with an infected host in order to get infected. Captain Han is back inside the facility. They soon find some strange signal coming from outside the station, directly from Storage 3, the same room where Jisoo was killed. The crew marches to Storage 3 and when they reach there, they don't find anyone there. When Captain Han uncovers the dead body of Jisoo, he finds an old communicator, on which someone seems to send the message, indicating that Jisoo is a rogue agent and working for someone else. Is Jisoo working for another side? Well, that needs to be seen later. However, this old communicator becomes a blessing in disguise, and thus provides a good chance for them to communicate back to Earth with Director Choi. Thankfully, they manage to contact SAA. Captain Han informs Jisoo of being a mole within the group. Director Choi orders Captain Han to find out if anyone else is working with him. Han, on the other hand, is more intrigued by Director Choi's casual attitude toward the notion of surviving on board. She appears to know more than she is revealing. When Captain Han tells her that he no longer will retrieve the capsule, if she doesn't grant them level 1 access. Moreover, the series shows the flashback, where Captain Han was briefed about the mission. Han has been fully aware of the mission all the time. He was told about lunar water before their moon expedition. We also come to know that rest of the world backed down, considering moon exploration as a waste of time, while Korea keeps going on. And they are rewarded with the result. They found the lunar water on the moon. They discovered water droplets thanks to Mr. Park's assistance, and that would have been a sufficient breakthrough to level up with the majority of the developed world, particularly with the projected space program to Mars heating up. Han has been keeping everything from the team in order to prevent chaos while also probing what happened to cause everything to go so tragically wrong. Captain Han and a few now are provided with level 1 access. Back inside the lab, Jian is still clueless about the source of the virus and the reason for causing the death. When she put her drop of blood with the sample from the deceased one, the blood starts to react weirdly and keeps multiplying. After multiplying, the blood starts to turn into water. They got the answer for the death of those crew. Jian enraged then confronts Captain Han and knowledge him about the virus converting blood into the water. Jian's sister was aware of this and tried her best to support them. But things don't go as they wanted, everything becomes a disaster and everyone becomes infected by the virus. To study more about the water and its source, Jian asks Captain Han to provide her with the access code for level 1. Captain Han still doesn't trust her, but decides to join her to investigate. After verification, when they are inside level 1, they find something vent. And when they open the vent, they see fauna and plants growing all over the vent path down to areas unknown. Soon, the whole crew is called to show them their finding. They need to find what is going down there, and decided to go down and investigate. As the crew marches inside, they see the whole vent is like a jungle full of fauna and plants. The crew carefully put their foot on, because they don't know what they are going to face. As they walk inside the vent, they could see the vines of the plant have grown here and there across the wall. They finally reach the room lit up with green light, which means the slot is full of capsules that they are looking after all. All those grown plants have propagated from the single broken container leading to unusual fauna growth. The crew begins to check the slots one at a time and finds the water inside the capsule. They secure the sample in a safe locker to take back to the Earth. In the meantime, Han notices some rustling noise coming from the vines and asks some crew to guard up. Soon the whole situation turns into havoc. Shortly, E1 and Heesun spot something moving at a scary speed through the corridors. That mysterious person soon ripped out E1's hands. The whole crew sees the happening. This mysterious person can move very quickly and even dodge the gunshot, hopping on the tree like a monkey, only stopped by a burst pipe. In this process, one of the sample bottles containing water breaks and starts to react with E1's blood. Jian quickly informs Han to back off. As the blood starts to multiply, one of the crew members quickly grabs the briefcase containing the samples, and the crew evacuates the place. Once they reach the up, Captain Han quickly closes the door and the crew is back to safety. The team starts to assume the mysterious girl and concludes that, whoever she is also guarding the sample, or might be after the sample too. She appears to be guarding it, but how human can have that much incredible power and speed remain a mystery. Meanwhile, Han contacts Director Choi and informs her of all the happening. Director Choi orders him to find that girl and kill her and also secure the capsule. Han is not delighted with the order, but Choi urges him to rethink. To our surprise, as the communication ends, we see a photograph of Choi with a young girl. The same young girl who is hunting the whole crew inside the station. Before leaving to hunt that mysterious girl, Captain Han allows Jian and Dr. Hong to continue to search for the data. Captain Han steps inside the vent and traces the blood stain all the way, and meets up with Soo Hyuk and Hee Sun, who are also looking at that girl. The search is still on but in vain. The main focus of the action here, however, is Jian and Dr. Hong, who go in quest of the sample data. They're eager to recover the files, in which Jian's sister looks to have been involved. The data sample is here, and while carefully loading the sample, Jian tells her that she had no idea her sister was part of the lunar base expedition until she gets a call later on. Shortly, they access the computer and find nothing. All the files are completely deleted. But why is that? What are they trying to hide? During all this, Tae-suk happens to be a spy and communicates with whomsoever. He then quickly begins to collect the sample and put it in the briefcase. In the meantime, Jian and Doc Hong arrive back at the lab and finds Tae-suk ready to take the briefcase. Jian suspects him and asks him to put the briefcase there. As she is in charge of the lab, Tae-suk considers shooting Jian. However, the mysterious girl appears in front of the lab. Tae-suk opens his fire on her. Strange girl easily dodges his shoot. Captain Han returns back to the lab and orders to hold the fire. Jian carefully put the sample bottle on the desk. The strange girl looks at the sample and Jian at the same time, blinking her eyes weirdly. The episode ends here, leaving us with many unanswered questions. This part begins inside the stations, looking at Jian's eyes. The mysterious girl slowly walks near the lunar water bottle. All of them are terrified, even the girl is terrified with them. Jian sees the girl's name tag which says, Song Won Kyung. This is the name of Jian's sister. Is she Jian's sister? When the girl just grabs the bottle, despite Captain Han's order to hold the fire, Mole Tae-suk opens fire at her, which shatters the sample bottle. The lunar water splashes all over the girl. Surprisingly, the girl doesn't die, but starts to react weirdly. This proves that she has acclimatized to lunar water. Her body starts to heal itself, which also raises more questions about the girl. The girl then runs away from the vent, while Jian put back the sample inside the refrigerator. Later, the whole crew discusses what to do with the girls. All the crew members want to kill the girl considering the dangerousness for the team, but Jian wants to keep the girl alive, believing that she is only the girl who hopes to more about lunar water. Meanwhile, Captain Han communicates with Mr. Kim, who reveals that Director Choi purposely ordered Balhi Station to be closed down. When Captain Han wants to more about it, Mr. Kim rejects to answer any more, informing him to talk with Jian if he wants to know more about it. The group devises a strategy to locate and capture the young girl. They set out to lure her with the lunar water capsule, and plan block of the intersection, forcing her to march toward the machine room. And as she reaches the capsule, they will block both ends of the hallway and traps her there. While this is going on, Tae-suk communicates with his American contact and informs him about the changing scenario. He also urges Americans to change the plan. As an order from the American, Tae-suk quickly retrieves the sample from the refrigerator and put it back in the briefcase, and rushes out, abandoning wounded E2 on the table. E2, though wounded, follows him. Sadly, he encounters the Tae-suk, who kills him by shooting him right in the middle of the chest. Then he hides the body of E2 inside the refrigerator, leaving no evidence behind. At the same time, Captain Han, Jian, and the team are working on their plan and setting their trap, but Jian freezes at the crucial point. As they close the gate, while trying to escape, the girl's leg gets stuck in the gate. When Jian tries to help the girl, she finds a tag on the back of the girl's neck telling Luna 073. Jian quickly remembers what she discovered on the computer, asking her to find Luna. The poor girl cries in pain. So Jian opens the gate and comforts her. Jian's gentle touch and care help in capturing the girl. But soon, Tae-suk closes all the gates from the main terminal. Luna runs away by crawling away into the vents. Jian enters the gate and follows Luna, while Captain Han and Soo Hyuk though passes from the gates, but are stuck behind. Tae-suk has already called the rescue ship and all are from his master plan, ensuring others aren't around to make his plan work successfully. He successfully captures all of them to steal the sample in the process of escaping. Captain Han suspects Tae-suk and realizes the reason why Tae-suk volunteered for this mission. In the meantime, Dr. Hong couldn't find the capsule in the refrigerator. As she searches, instead she finds E2 inside the freezer. The whole crew is aware of Tae-suk's disappearance. While Jien follows Luna and reaches her secret hideout, Jien tries to communicate with Luna and finally, Luna responds. Jien even gives her chewing gum and shows her how to eat. Luna doesn't attack Jien. Shortly, Jien finds out the photographs of her sister and the team member from the first expedition. At the beginning of this part, Dr. Hong quickly informs Captain Han about E2's dead body inside the freezer, and the missing water capsule. As she heads to the command center, she notices a vent opens and she heads from there. Eventually, Luna sleeps after eating and chewing gum and Jien also finds the file she is looking after all. The file containing the water response test. When she plays the file, those crews are performing the test with fish experimenting with how lunar water reacts with fish. As the water reacts with fish, the water spills from the fish and ultimately fills the fish tank, bringing fish back to life. These work perfectly for aquatic animals but not for humans, but also a hope for human survival. Hee-sun reaches the main command center and on the 3D map tries to locate the Tae-suk location, and finds that Tae-suk is hiding right behind the lab. Soon, Tae-suk shows up pointing the gun at Hee-sun. Tae-suk pushes him and looks at the 3D animation to locate more capsules. Looking for the chance, Hee-sun tries to grab the gun but Tae-suk just in time dodges it. Two fight and Tae-suk ends up shooting Hee-sun in the leg. Shortly, Hee-sun grabs the capsule and threatens to throw water at Tae-suk, but Tae-suk shoots at him, which breaks the capsule. The virus infects Hee-sun and dies by drowning. After killing Hee-sun, Tae-suk turns on the filtering system, but there is an issue. A warning chime is heard, alluding to the flooded storage room inside level 1, which we saw in the previous part. As the system is turned on, the chamber continues to flood, and the level of water rises higher and higher, stopping the chance to open it now. Back with Jien, she watches all the videos associated with the Luna project pertaining to her sister and her team. Her sister and the team were responsible for experimenting with the lunar water on human subjects, especially human clones. After experimenting on several human subjects, they reached I-73, the one whom Jien is now with. Jien can't believe that her sister was leading this horror project. Now we can assume that they were also testing with human strength and speed, or it may be a side effect of lunar water, but to be honest, I am not sure still. Captain Han and Dr. Han descend from the vent shaft and reach the command center. They discover Hee-sun's dead body. Captain Han immediately turns on the console and opens every gate. This also permits Soo-hyuk to go to Luna's cabin and point guns at her. Jien intervenes and stops him. Soo-hyuk believes that Luna is behind the killing of the crew members. Jien assures him that she was with Luna all the time and says, there is no chance she killed them. In the meantime, Captain Han through the radio informs him about Tae-suk and orders him to bring them alive to the command center. Captain Han then encounters Tae-suk in the hallway. They both fight and Captain Han chokes Tae-suk. Tae-suk manages to free himself and both point guns at each other, but water starts dripping from the top and spills over the Tae-suk. The filtration system has completely malfunctioned, spewing lunar water out from the vent into space. Tae-suk and Han stand off, and lunar water separates them. Tae-suk runs away after snarling to Han that he knows nothing about what transpired, raising doubt about the mission's future. Moving on, the series cut us into flashbacks and shows us what happened to the research station. The secret area we saw filled with fauna is suddenly evacuated, as lots of people try to cross the gate. A single seed reacts with water, which then starts to grow rapidly. The whole crew including Jien's sister is trapped inside, and when they try to escape, the soldiers stop them. It turns out that Director Choi made a terrible decision to confine everyone at the station and attempt to conceal the catastrophe on Balhi. She locked the gates and armed guards confined everyone inside. This explains why there are so many dead people heaped up in the storage chambers. At present, water quickly starts to flood across the station, but has still not reached the command center and the medical room. Performing experiments on humans and cloning both are illegal practices, and soon Jien understands that her place in the mission was clearly a planned gamble. Jien's sister was the chief of this operation. Director Choi purposely put Jien on the second mission considering Jien won't speak of her crimes. Meanwhile, Jien starts to show symptoms from the infection of lunar water. When her vision blurs, she runs away from them and locks herself inside the room. She starts to vomit water and soon faints. Surprisingly, she wakes up and finds that Luna's bite helped to produce antibodies to fight against lunar water. Dr. Hong believes that from Luna's DNA antibodies can be created to save the human race. In the meantime, Captain Han and Suk-young conclude that Jisoo and Tae-suk both work for RX, their competitive rival back on Earth. Captain Han quickly communicates with Mr. Kim. Jian walks to Captain Han, who is already discussing with Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim informs them about the rescue shuttle already inbound to the station. Captain Han had planned with Mr. Kim to overthrow Director Choi, but Mr. Kim regret to inform him that due to the higher level of political influence, he could plan it. It is a risk to take Luna back to Earth, and also, they do not want to leave her behind at the station. Jian comes up with the idea that she would accompany them to the International Institutes of Space Biology. There they can take Luna to neutral territory and can work on a better plan to save Luna, and overthrow Director Choi. Let's get back to Tae-suk. He is also infected by lunar water and starts having hallucinations, such as seeing a swarm of soldiers in front of him. This connects to memories of the past, as he gets nervous and starts to wonder what he's doing. After Han earns Luna's confidence by connecting over his particular badge given by his daughter, the astronauts are forced to run as the lunar water spreads across the station. Luna guides them through the safe passage, and eventually, they soon come face to face with Tae-suk, who is frantic and delusional. The series reveals to us that Tae-suk was actually one of those soldiers on the Balhi station when Director Choi commanded everything to be closed down, and he has been disturbed since then. Tae-suk apologizes to Jian and says that he never wanted to do it. Soo-hyuk opens his fire and knocks Tae-suk, but also ended up getting shot, and doesn't appear that he will survive. Tae-suk vomits watery blood. They quickly grab the samples and proceed to the next section of the station. They quickly gear up and wear the space suits. Soo-hyuk dies in the process. Jian puts Luna space suits, but a bigger problem appears as the airlock system depressurization system malfunctioning. Surprisingly, Captain Han locks himself and sacrifices to save the rest of the crew. The water swaps him away. Why did Captain Han sacrifice? As it comes out, in order for the crew to go to safety, the decompression chamber must be activated from outside, and Han, as captain, boldly volunteers himself to do so, much to the dismay of the others when they discover what he's done. Jian, Dr. Hong, and Luna all reach the surface of the moon. Luna takes off her spacesuit and looks at the Earth. She can breathe on the moon. Luna walks toward the dead body of Han and embraces a badge given to him. Soon the spacecraft looms overhead, preparing to transport them to Earth safely, and they successfully save the Earth.